Do you believe in fairy tales? In MMA, it's a rare occurrence, but Dustin the Diamond Poirier is looking to close out a trilogy bout. A match that started back in 2012. I guess I should say a round of matches that started back then against Max Holloway. This isn't just to sail off into the sunset. This is not to capture unified gold, but this is for the coveted BMF belt, whatever that means. Today, it's going to be a fun matchup. Solid, stacked more or less UFC 318 card, and breaking it down with me, as always, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ. It's another episode of the Bloody Water podcast, and yeah, man, we need to talk about if this fairy tale ending can actually happen. We know, you and I both know, man, your favorite fighters are always going to lose in horrible, horrific ways, no matter how much you love them, except for a couple people. Henry Cejudo had his opportunity. He came back. He spoiled it. Amanda Nunes sailed off into the sunset, did it the right way, but she's coming back. These things just don't happen here, but there's still hope for Dustin the Diamond Poirier. What do you think about this matchup, this trilogy bout where he's up 2-0 thus far?
I'm excited for it, Derick. I know you're talking that it's not the coveted gold, right? They're not unifying a division right here. But at the same point, man, a BMF title does carry a lot of weight. You know, there's people out there clamoring for it. There's the entire division saying, I am the BMF. But really, it does come down to this name power. And in a trilogy fight, Dustin's last fight, like, it really could not have been a better storyline for these two to have, you know, Max's first fight in the UFC be against Dustin. Dustin's last fight, this is exactly the moment the UFC writes up, and I'm very excited for this weekend.
Listen, man, I want to be a UFC salesman too and all that and promote BMF. But listen, man, it's a fake title. This thing doesn't matter. Realistically, their names are large enough. Their legendary status is large enough that I don't think that this was necessary at all. But in the pay-per-view model of today's era, I mean, you got to get something to have people buy the pay-per-view. A fake title bout, whatever, it's all good. Listen, man, this is, interestingly enough, one of the first pay-per-views where both main event fighters are coming off of a loss. I think the last one was either the Nate Diaz. It was a Nate Diaz fight, or it was the Conor McGregor versus Cowboy Cerrone. It was one of those, but it's been like quite some time. So again, the name value is so large, it doesn't even matter. But we also have other former champions here. Patricio Pitbull, he is looking to get his first UFC victory against Dan Ige. You got Paulo Costa, not a championship guy, but another big name. Let's see where he goes. Again, we got a lot to talk about, but before we jump into any of that, let's do a quick record recap from UFC Nashville. AJ, I squeaked a victory out on a long shot, on a dart, if you will. I went 5-1, you went 4-2, but let's talk about the main event. This is what it was. Derrick Lewis, the Black Beast, he hit the detonator, man. He hit that left hook on Talishin Teixeira, but the controversy was an early stoppage. Teixeira did have to literally scale up the fence in order to make his way back up, but a lot of people are saying it was an early stoppage. What did you think?
Initially, right off the jump, Derick, I said early stoppage. I was one of the ones shouting from the rooftops, especially because it cost me the week, right? There was some turmoil right there. But going back on it, really, I mean, it's a matter of time when Derrick Lewis starts just blasting left hooks in your face. He's hitting the button. It's only a matter of time before these big guys go down. I don't think there might have been a chance for Teixeira to come back and save it, but Derrick Lewis was rolling on it. That was his fight to win.
I mean, the tough part is we didn't really get to see much of a fight, right? You got Lewis got hit in the eye, faked an eye poke type situation. Maybe he really couldn't see. Maybe the eye was jeopardized. But yeah, he just came swinging and the fight was over the next thing. Heavyweight MMA, you know what I mean? Listen, I told you guys last week, main event was not the best fight on the card, but it was a heartfelt win, if you will. Either way, that did squeak the victory for me. I moved to 61, 29-1, 67%. And you're right there, 59-31-1. 65%, so we're still neck and neck right there. All right, man, a couple other big points from UFC Nashville. Another controversial fight in the co-main event. Gabriel Bonfim of the Bonfim Bros squeaked out a split decision against Wonderboy Thompson. Listen, man, the 42-year-old still got it. He still got some left in the tank. Shin bone split and all. Listen, a lot of people thought Thompson edged that one out. Bonfim did get the win, but if this was one of those, well, if this was a fight to the death, who would have won? Thompson looked like he was on the way. That's not how we score MMA fights, though. What were your thoughts on that one?
Derick, I got the shiesty and the heater already ready in case there's more robberies this week, brother. No, it was I was in the boat with everybody. I agree with what Stephen Thompson said after the fight. He's been in many where he's won. He's been in many that he's lost. That did not feel like a loss for Stephen Thompson, especially in an MMA fight. I think that one was rough for him to lose.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough just for the trajectory, the contract. I think he has one last fight left on his contract after this one, so we'll see if he gets his contract renewed or not. But 42 years old, man, it's hard to keep doing it, especially in a division like this. All right, man. The last Pirate, Morgan Charrier, spoils the hometown fight for Nate Landwehr. The Tennessee connection right there knocks him out, man. Late fight, performance of the night, so both of them got some extra bonus money. But Landwehr tried to up the theatrics, and as soon as the round came out, Charrier went from a really good competitor to just turning it into a fight. And the moment he did that, he put him out, bro. I thought that was pretty amazing. I thought he took Landwehr's playbook. He just executed a little bit better.
Yeah, I was right there with you. That was the moment I saw, Derek, that really did turn the tide. It no longer became a fight because Morgan Charrier knew that Nate Landwehr was out there for blood. And man, when he actually did turn it on, I love to see a fighter evolve from their normal style and do what needs to be done to win the fight. Morgan Charrier has a lot of promise in him if he's able to keep evolving his game.
Yeah, and I say, like, it went from a competition and turned into a fight. You know, that's really what upped it right there. Last couple of notes here. Vitor Petrino did make a successful heavyweight debut. Got the submission victory against Austin Lane right there. This is the playbook, right? You literally just stop cutting weight at light heavyweight, actually use some skill and get these guys out of here. That's the problem though, man, is that the heavyweight division is in shambles right now. Who is going to be left to fight Tom Aspinall? Because people are saying right now, they're like, give Derek Lewis the shot at Tom Aspinall. And it's like, all right, so we have no contenders. That's just where we're at. All right, bro. One final note right here, man, in the featherweight division, the Mean Machine, Steve Garcia, he got Calvin Kattar out there. It looks like it's the end of an era for Calvin Kattar. Garcia enters the top 15, but Kattar just doesn't look like, he looks a little too gun shy for 145 right now to hang with the top 15. Is this the end of a ranked Calvin Kattar, even though technically he's tied with the 15 spot? He's like 15.5 right now in the rankings. What do you think?
I think it is, Derek. Unfortunately, we've seen, especially late in the UFC as of late, the specialists no longer have a place. And it's funny because we just saw Stephen Thompson fight, and he is an absolute specialist and deserved to win that fight. But he is the exclusion to the rule, right? Now the MMA game has evolved so much that you need to be a well-versed fighter of every sort. And having that specialized technique no longer going to work. So I don't see Calvin Kattar making his way back up to the fight, but I do see him being a great litmus test for the future of the MMA landscape to see how the sport can evolve going forward.
Sounds like a gatekeeper to me, but that's how the MMA world goes. Listen, it was a fun card. Let's see if UFC 318 can match the intensity, match the finishes. But without any further ado, AJ, let's talk about some sleepers, brother. Remember, UFC 318, you want to shell out some cash and you want to go pay for the pay-per-view? No problem. Hit the sports bar. Don't pay the big fees. But if you're looking for a big, entertaining fight, a knuckle sandwich on the prelims, we got you covered right here. AJ, you got a fun one. Talk to the people. What do you got this week?
It's time for some fight night.
And if you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
Very fun one, folks. We're going Adam Fugit versus Islam Dultov, man, in the 170-pound division right here. Folks, if you've been following the UFC newcomers over the last 2 years, then you know how promising of a start Adam Fugit had, especially with his UFC debut KO, right? Since then, he's had some ups, he's had some downs, but he's still a very solid prospect in the UFC. Hits hard, well-rounded, always down for the scrap. Now, Dultov, this is the one that the sleeper is made for, folks. He's making his UFC debut right here, and an absolute killer. Orthodox boxer, very well-rounded, can choke you out with the quickness. Here's what you need to know, folks. 19 combined finishes between the two of them. Both fighters are KO heavy, but they also have the ability to mix it up and fight the fight wherever it needs to be able to win. Dultov has never lost a fight that made it to the final, or that ended before the final bell, right? Only loss he has is a decision, so you know he's going to be bringing the pace, going to be bringing the fun. This is going to be a very, very fun, fast-paced, exciting contest between these two prospects. Make sure you tune in. This is the main, or like the featured prelim on the actual prelim card, so make sure you get in early.
And it's crazy too, man. Look at these odds. Minus 620 for Dultov in his UFC debut. And this is with Fugit coming off of a win against Josh Quinlan, who, I know Quinlan, I believe he did get cut from the promotion, but this dude is good, bro. Like, Quinlan was one of those guys where you're like, yo, like, that was an impressive victory right here. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Don't forget, Fugit has a win over Solomon Renfro too. Solid prospect right there. We got a lot of fun in store. All right, man, let's go ahead and let's jump into UFC 318. We got a BMF title to talk about right here.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
How many times can we do the same song and dance? AJ 2012, 2019, 2025. This is the trilogy match. Dustin Poirier, who is coming off of that loss to Islam Makhachev, fights Max Holloway, who got knocked out in his last fight. Both fighters got finished. But the question mark that I think comes into this matchup is we have never seen Max Holloway bounce back from a knockout loss. This is unprecedented territory right here. And if we know one thing about their last fight, at least, because it's too far back, 2012 is too far back to review tape and apply it to today. But if you go back to their last fight, early pocket exchanges, early and often. Holloway's the volume guy. Poirier maybe hits a little bit harder, but who knows? A lightweight, fully bulked out Max Holloway might be able to give him a couple of problems in that clinch, in that pocket presence. Is that the big question mark right here? Is there any other missing intangible that we need to talk about?
No, that is the big question mark, Derick. I mean, the big intangible that I was thinking, right, is who's better in those exchanges. Not necessarily a dog fight, because I can see both of these guys being very technical and back and forth, but in those moments, in those combos, in that chaotic pressure that you're talking about, where how it's going to be starting fast, who's getting the better of those exchanges and who's a little bit more fresh. A lot of it does, the KO of Max Holloway does have me worried, especially before that, the Justin Gaethje fight. You're talking about a full 155-pound Holloway. That's what we saw against Justin Gaethje. He was able to take some lumps. He was able to get going, but who knows how much damage that plus the Topuria fight really did on him. So I'm interested to see how he comes out, if he's gun shy or if he's going to stay in this normal Max Holloway style, because we know he likes to bring the fun. It's just going up against a diamond. That's a hell of a task.
And to build off that, I thought it was interesting because Holloway just said recently in an interview that he couldn't fully bulk up to 155 when he fought Gaethje because he knew he had to go back down to 145. So he says this time, this is like the full Max Holloway 155. I'm ready to go. I'm bulked up, whatever that means, because we know USADA is no longer a part of the UFC. So whatever that means. But Poirier looks shredded. He looks in shape. And again, when it comes down to that Justin Gaethje fight, we did see a little bit more of a methodical Max Holloway. Not the crazy exchanges that I anticipate in this matchup, but who knows? I mean, Holloway does say he's looking to spoil the party. That doesn't mean that he needs to give you stand and bang from the very jump, especially because he got rocked how many times in their last fight. So the key that I see here is the long extended combinations for Max Holloway versus the big pocket hook exchanges, that left cross, that rear cross, right hook from Dustin Poirier. That's literally what this matchup is going to be about. Now, we need to just think to ourselves right here, unprecedented territory, or do we go back in the ways of old? The total right here is 4.5 rounds, minus 158 for the over, plus 124 for the under. What side were you thinking when you saw this matchup on paper?
I was thinking the over initially, Derick. Right when I saw this, I'm thinking this is going to be a long fight, especially because of how skilled both these fighters are. And I agree with you on the styles that they're both going to have to put. And knowing that about each other, knowing that Dustin does have that beautiful left hook, right cross combo that he likes to throw out with Holloway, looking to put the gas pedal on, I can see both of them having to find those ways to battle each other, making it a chess match, especially like you said with the Justin Gaethje fight, having a little bit softer of a start, right? A little bit slower of a start going forward. That's why I like the over.
See, it's tough though, man, because this is a Dustin Poirier retirement fight right here. So that all logic goes out the window pretty much when emotions can play a lot into this. If they say, all right, let's sit and let's bang, who's to say? I mean, Poirier's like, I'm going to be a silly goose and we're just going to go out there and we're going to be some knuckleheads and we're going to brawl. So we'll see what happens right there. But 2 points that I really wanted to talk about before we kind of finished up the total conversation right here. Danger zones. For Poirier, in my opinion, he has this style, especially against Max Holloway, where instead of circling out, he kind of backs up in a straight line, in a linear pattern up against the cage and does his shell. Shells up, Holloway gets off his 4 or 5 strikes, and that's when he starts unloading. Or he'll back up linearly and wait for Max Holloway to rush in with the long extended strikes and then pop him with one. It's just a power differential right there. That's the danger zone right there for Max Holloway, is how does he capitalize on those moments? Otherwise, if this does go long, 36-year-old Dustin Poirier, brother, rounds 4 and 5, we know Max Holloway is going to pour it on. What's the worst danger zone? Who's in more trouble of those two danger zones?
I think who's in more trouble of those two danger zones is going to be Max Holloway, because you need to get in there and you need to be able to have those burst combos, right? Get on the inside, hit him with a couple 4, 5, 6 combo, and then dip out. But in that time, Dustin Poirier is great at finding those counter moments. So in order for Max Holloway to engage and be the best fighter he can be, he needs to put himself in that danger, and especially up front early. The first 3 rounds, I think, are going to be more of an impactful time for Dustin Poirier to really get that work in, because I agree with you. I think Max Holloway is going to close out the fight very strong.
All right, man. Well, the resumes speak for themselves. Again, this was a legends-only matchup right here. And if you look at what FanDuel is at least showing, I'm going to track all these off of FanDuel. Minus 132 for Holloway, plus 104 for Dustin Poirier. So this is getting a little even right here. I thought it was a little heavier on Max Holloway. I'm not going to lie to you. But Dustin Poirier is up 2-0 in this trilogy right here. So let's give the final takes, brother. How do you see it? Who you rocking with and why?
Ooh, folks, I'm rocking. I've been back and forth on this one all day. I can pull up the notes to show you. I originally thought Poirier was going to win this fight. I'm rocking with the Blessed Express, though, folks, and I'm actually taking Holloway by decision. I think this was going to be a very long fight, so whether you want to take the over or the decision, because you're rocking with the Blessed train right here, that's how I see this one going down. What about you, Derick?
I'm not going to lie to you. After doing extensive film study, reviewing this for the umpteenth million time, I wanted to go Max Holloway. But where's the fun in that? We're rocking with the fairy tale ending. We're rocking with Dustin, the Diamond Poirier. They say diamonds are forever and no fairy tales are real, but we're going to do it. The hometown hero right here. He's walking out to Lil Wayne and all that. Listen, none of this stuff matters. Remember, if you're placing your hard-earned cash on this one, I do think Max Holloway is the brain play. The heart play, we're going to rock with it for the sake of the Bloody Water Podcast competition. I'm going to go finish, knockout, or decision for Poirier, but I think the real play is over 4.5 rounds for the total, minus 158 on that. I think that's fair, especially if you're conflicted and you don't know how to choose. How does that sound?
That sounds beautiful. I'm telling you, folks, over 4.5 is probably the smartest play right here. You got to choose which one if you're looking to place some money on them.
That's it. All right. Well, that is your BMF belt, and that means Dustin Poirier walks away with the BMF belt. So we'll see what happens right there. Again, not a real belt. This thing doesn't count. But let's move on to the co-main event right here. All right, man. Borichinha, Paulo Costa fights Roman Kopylov. And AJ, this is another one that I feel like the UFC says, hey, we need another name to kind of catapult this card, to give it a little bit of extra star power, because when this card was originally being built, it wasn't that prominent. A lot of people said this was an incredibly weak card for the pay-per-view portion. But now that you got Paulo Costa, all I'm seeing is a springboard for Roman Kopylov finally getting real opportunity. If you take a look at the last 5, the Fluffy Hernandez loss, that did hurt his trajectory. We can't lie. Hernandez, he took some of that limelight. He went into the rankings where Kopylov should have been. Then you beat Cesar Almeida. You beat Chris Curtis. Get that walk-off finish, that 3rd round finish right here. And then you get Costa. Costa, in skill, let's be real, man. You got wins in the UFC. I mean, the most notable wins. Uriah Hall, Yoel Romero, Luke Rockhold. That's the only thing of note to talk about. So we're really just saying Roman Kopylov, a hungry young prospect, 34 years old, I shouldn't say young, but a hungry prospect who's fighting a name in Paulo Costa right here. How does Paulo Costa bounce back from those losses to Robert Whittaker and Sean Strickland against a kickboxing machine in Roman Kopylov here?
I think he needs to get back to his roots right here, Derick. I was thinking of the game plan for Costa, right? We've seen him where he can be timid. He can be looking to hit the counter with that big shot because he's a very, very powerful, phenomenal striker. But if those opportunities never present, right, and he stays on the back foot because he has a little bit slow start, a little bit low output, he really finds himself behind the 8 ball. So he needs to get back to that marauder style, right? Gain the respect that a lot of people had, because when Paulo Costa started off in the UFC, people thought he was just an absolute destroyer, right? And then he started facing top tier talent. The luster wore off a little bit. So Paulo Costa can go in there and just absolutely put a dog walk in on Roman Kopylov, be the one that shoots or be the one that fires first, fires third, and just walk this dude down the entire time and impose your will on him. That'd be the best output for Paulo Costa. The output or the actual volume he presents, I think, is what's going to be his main detriment right here, especially with a very decorated striker that Kopylov is.
And that's what's funny, man, is because if you look at his stats, significant strikes, 6.22 per minute, I don't think that's telling the same story from what you see visually, especially in his last couple of performances right here. Maybe some ground and pound type stuff, like that's where you could stat pad a little bit. But where we're watching him, that's the biggest problem, is he just doesn't throw as much as you need him to throw. And in a matchup right here against Kopylov, where, let's be real, Robert Whittaker, not a takedown threat. Sean Strickland, not a takedown threat. Luke Rockhold, I think Paulo Costa was the one taking down Luke Rockhold right here. He might try to go the grappling route against Roman Kopylov, because I do see that being a better approach than just trying to kickbox with him. But then again, we've seen Kopylov can do a little bit of wrestling himself. Where do you see grappling coming into this matchup?
I see a grappling when they get to the cage, right? I'm not expecting Paulo Costa to just be shooting blast doubles from the side, setting up takedowns. I see him putting that pressure on, closing the distance, and then grabbing in, working for a takedown or at least a grappling exchange in that sort, right? Cage control, get the fight down, because I do see where Paulo Costa can get himself to an advantageous position. But what worries me is the upfront two there. How's the gas tank going to look? What kind of entrances are you having? There's a lot of worries that come out of the striker that is called Roman Kopylov, and we haven't seen the polish that Paulo Costa needs to be able to get past that.
That's fair. I have seen a couple of holes in Costa's game that I don't really enjoy. Another one, defensively walking straight back in a linear pattern, straight line, and having a little bit of problem dealing with that southpaw left hand and that left kick right there, which are exactly the weapons that are going to be coming at him from Roman Kopylov right here. So again, I like Roman Kopylov. I think that the numbers right here is actually a fair line. Minus 265 for Kopylov, plus 200 for Paulo Costa. I don't think it's overpriced. I think it's very fair. If anything, I think it's not a higher line given Paulo Costa's name. Do you agree, or am I discounting the performance of Costa too much here?
No, I agree with this, Derick, especially since this sport is a matter of what have you done for me lately. I do think Kopylov deserves to be the favorite in this, and with how we've seen him perform on paper, I do think he's also the favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see. If Paulo Costa can apply pressure to Roman Kopylov and make his output wane, we could see a much more competitive fight, maybe open up some grappling. But again, the strike rate for Paulo Costa drops. I mean, historically, it drops pretty bad after about 10 minutes in the cage. So if this goes long, which the total on this is 2.5, over is minus 220 plus 168, I just think Roman Kopylov is the play. But I really, really like that over 2.5 at minus 220. How do you see it?
I like it too, Derick. I think with the durability that Paulo Costa presents and how not necessarily like Roman Kopylov isn't powerful, but he does like to hit you with combos. He likes to set up his traps going forward. I think that's going to lead to a longer drawn out fight. I'm looking at the live odd right now. I just updated my page, minus 210 for the over 2.5. So people are seeing that. So people are really putting some money there, folks. I think that's the best play right here as well.
All right, that's fair. So Roman Kopylov, consensus pick on this one. Are you going any specific outcome, decision, money line? How do you see it?
I like the money line for Kopylov. It's a little hard to get some juice on it. So if you're looking to get that one going, I put that into a parlay. If you're looking to make money straight on this one, that minus 210 over 1/2 is the way to go. If you're looking to bet strictly on a fighter, Kopylov by decision is probably one of the better bets we're going to actually see.
All right, that's your consensus pick for the co-main event. Let's keep it rolling. Next up, Big Mouth Kevin Holland in a rebooking against Daniel Rodriguez. You remember the story originally, right? This was the Khamzat Chimaev debacle where Rodriguez had to fight the Leech, I'm going to jack it up. The Leech, he had to fight him last minute. Holland got Chimaev. Listen, they're back. These guys are supposed to fight each other a couple of different times. They've been booked a couple different times, but we're finally coming to fruition. And in a weird turn of events, Kevin Holland, who's been incredibly active, this is going to be the 4th fight this year, I do believe, is fighting Rodriguez, who seems a little rejuvenated. I don't know if that's the right term, but coming off of that win against Santiago Ponzinibbio, knocking him out, bro, that was impressive, man. I think he needed that for his mojo to have a little bit more confidence in the hands and bounce back from that 3-fight losing streak that he had. Magny, Gary, and Gastelum. You split decision Alex Morono and you beat Ponzinibbio. You're looking like a good spot. Still think he might be a little outgunned here against the 170-pound version of Kevin Holland. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I'm right in line with you, Derek. I do think D-Rod has that mojo back. He needed to feel, and I do think the Morono split decision, even though he got back away from that loss streak, like he got one finally in the win column, not being able to perform like you normally do and hit with that authority, hit with that power, and be the dog in the cage, I think that did do a little bit of a detriment to him. So getting the knockout on Santiago Ponzinibbio, who was also a dog in the cage, really did boost his ego going forward. And I'm interested to see how these two actually meet in the middle on this. We've seen an evolved game from Kevin Holland going forward. I mean, even the Vicente Luque submission, right, alone. But nonetheless, this guy is stopping people left and right. And at 170 pounds, we know how dangerous Kevin Holland can be. I'm excited to see how they actually mix it up. The talking gets going and who's actually going to be the one leading the fight. I think that's going to tell who's actually going to be the victor.
Yeah, man, I'm seeing a lot of people all over submission props here for Kevin Holland. I don't see D-Rod being too susceptible to getting submitted in a fight like this because I think it's going to be primarily standing, man. I think this is going to be a rock'em sock'em robots. The problem that I see, or the big question mark here is, again, Kevin Holland, you have such a massive reach advantage. Are you going to use it? We know he's going to try to find the big right hand. We know that's the kill shot right there. He's going to try to find it. You have a 7-inch reach advantage. D-Rod has to get in the pocket. He has to get past that reach and start loading up on some combos. That's the only way that you're going to be competitive in a fight right here. So I think the line is a little steep, to be frank, man. But honestly, I mean, it makes sense. Minus 500 for Holland, plus 340 for D-Rod. You knocked out Ponzinibbio, but Ponzinibbio was very small compared to Kevin Holland, and you don't have that same grappling threat that you do with Kevin Holland. Of course, he could be taken down, but front chokes, very, very dangerous against Holland right here. How does D-Rod get inside the reach of Kevin Holland?
He has to crash, Derek. One of the things Kevin Holland is really, really good at is using his movement to evade the strikes coming back. But if D-Rod is able to fight like his old self, be on the front foot, be the bully in the cage, Kevin Holland has this one thing where he puts the shoulder up and not necessarily rolls or pulls back, but he likes to get it so he can throw the counter back at you. That's when D-Rod needs to see those things. Duck under the inside. Like you said, throw some combos while you're in there and really make this a dirty dog fight. Because if you're going to be in a technical striking battle at range against Kevin Holland, where he's able to work that movement, evade, piece you up, and where you still can't reach him, it's going to be a long night. D-Rod really, really needs to get this fight on the inside no matter what, and also avoid the clinch game because Kevin Holland is dangerous in that clinch game as well.
Yeah, man. Can the 38-year-old Daniel Rodriguez keep riding this win streak? That's the question here. The real conflict that I had with this matchup wasn't who I thought was going to win, but it was how this win was going to take place. I'm still not dead on right here, but the total is 2.5 rounds, plus 116 for the over, minus 145 for the under. So if a finish is happening, either a knockout, a submission, obviously you only have so many choices right here. But like I said, people are all over these submission props for Kevin Holland. In my mind, when I just play it out, I'm just not quite seeing it here. Do you envision a knockout coming?
I envision a knockout. That's the most likely because I agree with you, Derek. I think this is going to be a rock'em sock'em robots. The only way I see this fight hitting the ground is if D-Rod is on his pressure, right? On his gas. He's really putting the pressure to Kevin. And that's when Holland knows he doesn't have the space he needs to actually get to work. And then he can implement some grappling and implement some sort of takedown to get this fight where he needs to get the momentum back. But I mean, even I'm looking at the odds right now, plus 270 on FanDuel for a submission by Kevin Holland. Not nearly as good as his plus 195 TKO prop. That's where I like this one in the TKO money.
Yeah, I'm going to stay away from how this is going to go down because if there's one thing we know about Kevin Holland, he's an unpredictable guy. But I think it's fair. Money line right here. I even would throw Kevin Holland in a parlay piece right here. That's how confident I am that the victory happens here. It's just the very specifics about it that makes me a little hesitant. Should be a good fight, and unless Daniel Rodriguez does something spectacular, should be a win for Kevin Holland right here. So let's keep it rolling to the next one. All right, man, like I said, Dan Ige has a challenge in front of him. Patricio Pitbull is looking to get his first victory in the octagon. And he said the thing that we all pretty much said is like, listen, man, you're a 5-round fighter. You've been the champ at Bellator. You don't got 25 minutes, though. You got 15. And he says that he didn't make the adjustments until the 3rd round, even though he did pretty clearly lose just about every round of his last fight. So he needs to make these adjustments against Dan Ige. Now, the problem is you still got a dude who hits really hard, who does have a reach advantage in Ige, who is time-tested, man, and who just got a knockout win on Sean Woodson, a dude way bigger and longer. So now Dan Ige gets to be the big guy, and he gets a big boost, maybe? I mean, Patricio Pitbull, in the eyes of UFC fans who probably didn't care about Bellator, this win probably means nothing. But to the hardcores, we're like, yo, this is cool. But then again, Pitbull is 38 years old. So back against the wall spot for Pitbull, in my opinion. Dan Ige does open as a minus 215 favorite. How do you see it?
Yeah, I see Dan Ige rightfully having the favorite in this one. I'm interested, Derek, because I feel like both styles are very complementary towards each other, right? We're going to see a fire versus fire, an ice versus ice match right here coming up. Dan Ige, I love the way he kind of fights because he's always looking to bring the show, right? And whether you're looking for counters, whether you're looking to put some combos together, whether you just want a dogfight, Dan Ige is there. Same thing goes for Patricio Pitbull. I think the only difference is Pitbull might have some craftier submissions than Dan Ige. Really, other than that, like whoever gets in their bag first, who's ever able to be the front foot fighter or get this fight to the ground, I think that's where the outcome's going to happen.
Yeah, man. I mean, do you have any confidence here in Pitbull? Is there a way for him to make this happen? Lay on some calf kicks, try to land the big shot? Because Pitbull has power too. You can't discount it. There's one thing that leaves you last, even as an old fighter in a division like this, and it is that power. How do you see it?
I think the way Pitbull is going to be able to win this fight, Derek, is lulling Dan Ige into having to put the pressure on him, right? Having Dan Ige forced to fight instead of both of them just sitting back, looking for counters, looking to set up traps. Patricio Pitbull is very, very, I like to say relaxed and controlled, right? He's sitting there, he's waiting, he's judging, he's seeing things happen, but then, like you said, he hits you with that power, and that's, if he's able to surprise Dan Ige on those counter strikes, on those moments where they are clashing in, I think he can have some success going forward, and then really get to work. I see him taking this fight to the ground, working submission game, or at least controlling Ige, so that way you don't have that frantic, fast-paced fight that Ige is really, really good at.
Yeah, I like where your head's at there. I just don't see Pitbull trying to grapple his way to a victory here. I think there is one really nice tool that he has, which is going to be the inside calf kick right there. If he could beat up the leg of Dan Ige and take away that mobility, you might be able to make this a little bit of an easier fight here. But if he cannot do that, I don't trust the volume coming from Pitbull to make this a hard enough fight for Dan Ige not to kind of cruise through it right here. Minus 215 again for Dan Ige. I think it's fair. I think name value does carry a little bit for Pitbull to kind of like raise his odd price more or less. But Ige is a guy that I feel like gets underestimated and overvalued at the same time in certain matchups right here. And in this one, I just think they're looking at him as kind of like a journeyman type and not like a dude who's like, yo, a couple good wins strung together and you're fighting the top guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny because I totally understand where you're coming from. And I do think a lot of the casuals, they see Dan Ige and all they think is, oh, he's a fun fighter. Like, nothing really too special about him. But man, this guy, he is top tier talent. And like you said, with a couple wins, like if he didn't lose that Diego Lopez fight, he's right there, right? He is right there in the mix with everybody. And I agree. I mean, I think as much as Patricio Pitbull doesn't have a name with the UFC fans, I think the brass of the UFC will respect this win a lot more than the casuals.
Yeah, bro. Look at these losses, man. Lerone Murphy, Diego Lopez, Bryce Mitchell, Movsar Evloev, Josh Emmett, Korean Zombie. Literally the best guys, pretty much. So I think that this should be a pretty easy fight to call right here. Dan Ige is going to be the play. Let's see if Pitbull can make it competitive. But this really is coming more than, aside from Kayla Harrison, I just don't trust these Bellator guys coming over anymore, man. Like we have a large enough sample size, I think, now to realize it's a different level of competition. And especially at 38 years old, at 145 pounds, fighting top tier opposition, just might not be able to cut it right there. So final piece right here. I'm a little bit more confident in predicting. I got Ige decision. The over is 2.5, minus 260 for the over, plus 190 for the under. But I like Dan Ige by decision on this one. What are you rolling with?
I like that as well, Derek. That's what I had written down. It's at plus 135 right now on FanDuel. So I really like this odd. I mean, how durable Patricio Pitbull is and how crafty both of these veterans are. I see a longer fight, and I agree with you. I think Dan Ige is going to be able to shine in this one with the low output that Pitbull has.
That's it. All right. And to open us up, Michael Johnson. AJ, he's back. And he's fighting Daniel Zellhuber. This is how they reward him. You get a nasty knockout win over Otman Azatar, and then they say, all right, we're going to give you the golden boy, Zellhuber, who is coming off of that split decision loss to Esteban Ribovic, but he made some really good adjustments in that fight. Even though he got the short end of the stick, even though he snapped his 3-fight win streak, he gets kind of rewarded here with a name in Michael Johnson. And if you watch the interviews, Michael Johnson was saying, hey, he was kind of doing some dirty things. He was posting my knockout losses, talking all types of crap and all that. And so now I got to go and we got to run it. We got to run hands now. Zellhuber is very, very confident going into this fight. And I think he's also confident because look at that line, brother. Minus 590 for Zellhuber. Can the menace, Michael Johnson, can he make another miracle happen? Can he stop the hype of Daniel Zellhuber, make him ride a 2-fight losing streak? What do you think?
I think there's a world where he can, Derek. Michael Johnson, he's very, very skilled boxer. He still has power in his punches. We were saying the last fight, that's the last thing to leave you. Michael Johnson still has that, and he has a dog in him, right? Solid grappling, very well-rounded, a great veteran, and able to mix it up and put himself in the best position against where his opponent is weaker. And Danny Zellhuber, I mean, he has all the intangibles as well. Young, reach advantage, height advantage. Like Zellhuber is a star in his own right, but where I think Michael Johnson is able to exceed is having the ability to not worry about where the fight's going. So he's able to stay a little bit more relaxed, and he's a little bit technically polished, especially in the boxing. Zellhuber's amazing boxing in his own right, very, very fast, up and down the pipe. But the way Michael Johnson is able to string together strikes and then wrestling, I think that's what's going to give Zellhuber the biggest problem right here.
My biggest concern right here, man, is there's one tendency that we're seeing in these Zellhuber fights, and the man gets hit. And in that last fight was on skates right there. Michael Johnson can put you on skates. I just don't think that he has the ability to carry that danger factor the way that homeboy did, Ribovic. The way that Ribovic is bombs for 15 straight minutes. Michael Johnson is like, he can catch that moment. But once that like first 10 minutes passes, I think the opportunity for that moment kind of wanes away. So I do think, yeah, you're right, man. Zellhuber is the more polished prospect. Johnson's got the experience edge right here. And the only way that I see this happening is like an early finish for Michael Johnson, or this goes late and we just see a point show class by Zellhuber. But then again, if you look at the odds right here, I don't know if you have it tracked right now, but I think the odds for a finish by Zellhuber are looking pretty enticing. I think there's some juice on there. Do you got something pulled up?
Ooh, Zellhuber by KO, TKO plus 185. There is some juice on there. And man, it's crazy to see because even Michael Johnson TKO 950. Nobody's believing in this man at all. Michael Johnson by points plus 800. Nobody's believing him at all. So Zellhuber has some way to make some cash right here.
Yeah, man. I mean, to be frank, though, like in the danger zones, because I like to lay out the danger zones for each of these fighters. And the danger zone that I see for Michael Johnson, believe it or not, are the same pocket exchanges where he found his knockout against Azatar. I think if he stays in that pocket, he's just as susceptible to get dropped by Zellhuber. The only problem is, it's not a problem, but the only difference is Zellhuber is much better when he's throwing those straight shots as opposed to the big hooks, right? The big hooks, that's going to favor Michael Johnson. For Zellhuber, if you overextend on anything, that's when I could see Johnson throwing that big shot and getting him out of there. But as long as you stay composed, look at the takedown defense for Zellhuber, 94%. I mean, what else do we need to look at right here? Lando Venata, Christian Yagos, and Francisco Prado are some pretty good wins. If you look at the other side for Michael Johnson, Mark Jacasey, no longer in the UFC, Darius Flowers, didn't have a successful UFC run. And the little win streak that Otman Azatar was on was impressive, but I don't think it spoke. He's not an active enough fighter for that to be as impressive as he wanted to be. So your losses to Clay Guida, Jamie Malarkey, Diego Fajeda, I don't think any of those match up to Fajeda. That's a good guy to lose to. But I think Zellhuber is clearly the play right here. You got anything else on this one?
I think Zellhuber's a play. I like him at KO. I don't want to see a 39-year-old Michael Johnson knocked out, but unfortunately, I think that's how the cards are going to roll on this one, especially at the money that it was, what I say, plus 130, 185 for a TKO prop. I like that money right there.
Yeah, man. 39 years old, Michael Johnson. I'm going to go either knockout. I'm going Zellhuber, either a knockout or a decision right here. But the final play, because AJ, if we're talking finishes, the total 2.5, close. It's almost even. Minus 116 for the over, minus 108 for the under. You're rocking the under?
I'm rocking the under.
And then Zellhuber by decision is plus 170. That's why I'm split, either a knockout or a decision. Those are two drastically different plays right there. I'm gonna go. Give me the knockout, man. We're gonna go feisty. Open up UFC 318 with the bang. But folks, if you want to be more conservative, you can go Daniel Zellhuber. But not much juice to be had at minus 590 right there. So that is your main card for UFC 318. And the fun doesn't end right there. We still got a couple of more plays here for you, folks. AJ, you're going to kick us off with our sharp corner pick of the week. Two of them, I got one, you got one. But these aren't just the main card plays that we're going to run down. Of course, you tell your buddy, hey, I need a play for UFC 318. This is the one that you're going to make him some money on. You got a fun one. Talk to the people, man. What do you got?
Very fun one, folks. We're going Bruno Ferreira by KO minus 130. This was a crazy line when I found it, right? You're getting a minus 570 favorite fighting a short notice replacement in Jackson McVeigh. This has all the writings for a KO payday for us, folks. McVeigh is an undefeated fighter with 100% finish rate, so you know he's going to be trying to put on a show. He's going to be bringing that pace, but his opponent, Bruno Ferreira, is not one to be trifled with. Ferreira has 3 more wins by KO than McVeigh has fights in general, in general at all, right? Make sure you keep your eye on this one, folks, because I don't think this price is going to stay here for long, and it's going to be a very fun fight, so make sure you tune in and cash in.
Bro, even better, McVeigh has never been outside of the first round. And if you're going round 1 versus round 1, you don't, the Hulk, Bruno Ferreira, you don't go against that guy. So yeah, that's going to be a good one right there. I like the play. I got a good one for you guys in this one. I'm pretty confident here. This is a big name matchup if you know who these guys are. Kyler Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira. And AJ, what have you done for me lately? Kyler Phillips, if you recall, not that long ago against Rob Font, against Pedro Munoz, Heoni Barcelos, he was kind of getting the Peyton Talbot treatment. This dude was minus 500 favorites, minus 450 favorites. Like, this dude was getting the star treatment. You lose to Rob Font in your last one, and all of a sudden, Vinicius Oliveira, minus 148 favorite, plus 128 comeback for Kyler Phillips. Listen, the play is not Kyler Phillips money line. The play here is taking these two dudes who have a combined finish rate of 70% and saying, you know what? I think we're going to go to a decision right here. So the play, Kyler Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira. Fight goes the distance at minus 160. Key is odd makers minus 160 for fight to go the distance right here. I think since the Holly and Paiva fight that Phillips had, where that didn't really go his way, he has prioritized cage control and poise over the reckless entries that we've seen. The Kita Kai stuff that he would do before, rolling thunders, crazy movements, and gassing out after 5 minutes ultimately. Vinicius Oliveira, at the same time, listen, he can match Kyler Phillips just about everywhere from the grappling to the big striking. Phillips is faster. Oliveira has more power. I think they will respect each other, and I think that this fight does go the distance. The question is, who wins? Because I also think there is absolutely juice on Kyler Phillips at plus money right here. But again, your play is fight to go the distance minus 160. What do you think about that one, AJ?
I like that one, Derick. And in fact, when I was looking at this play earlier, I saw Kyler Phillips who I agree with you, has more of a, I want to say evolved game, but you're right. It's a more cautious approach, more technical approach to how he's fighting. He has all the makings to be able to really nullify Loke Dog and not let the power that Vinicius Oliveira is going to present be an actual danger, right? He has great mobility, great evasion, and has that chaotic style that you're talking about in the back pocket whenever he needs to use it. But now he can fight smart and be able to choose when and where to do different things. I like this fight a lot.
All right, there you have it. Those are your sharp corner plays of the week. And let's talk about our story of the week here, AJ. Let me go ahead and let me bring up my notes. All right, so story of the week. Movsar Evloev, the new official number 1 contender in the featherweight division, now that Max Holloway has been removed from featherweight rankings. he's not fighting Aaron Pico, at least not yet, right? He was supposed to be fighting him on UFC on ABC 9, so July 26th. That was next week, man. That was next week's card, right? If my dates add up. Yeah, he's out. He has injury, training camp in Thailand. Something happened. That's not the point. The point is Movsar Evloev has gotten the short end of the stick time and time again. You've got Alexander Volkanovski literally saying, Movsar is the rightful next in line. He's the guy, right? And I just feel like this is I'm not going to say shooting yourself in the foot because you can't control injuries, but this timeline is like the worst possible timeline for Evloev. Because what happens if, your fight gets moved to the next pay-per-view? That's another how many weeks out, right? Something happens in the featherweight division to give somebody else new life. And now Evloev, sorry, you were going to get the shot, but you missed your opportunity and whoop-de-whoop. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail right here, but what do you think, man? Because I think that this was going to be like a title eliminator type spot. Aaron Pico was going to get in a great opportunity, but Evloev really misses out. What do you think?
Evloev misses out massively, Derick, and it sucks that it happens on an injury, because every time I think of Evloev, like especially with all the last stuff he's had in his previous, right, missing a bunch of fights, pullouts, everything like that, he really seems like he's getting the Corey Sandhagen treatment, where like, yeah, this guy is the guy, we expect him to fight, like we just can't get him to the fight, or in Corey Sandhagen's place, put somebody else in front of him, but that's not what Movsar Evloev is doing. That's why I feel like it hurts a little worse that it's almost out of his control, that he's just kind of getting the short end of the stick right here. I do think, though, I mean, and I was thinking about it with Aaron Pico, right? The Bellators, the other fighters coming in. As big of a name as Aaron Pico is to us, I don't know if it'd have been that big of a push for Movsar Evloev if he did beat him. It would have been like you were supposed to. I think that was more of a massive opportunity for Aaron Pico to get in and get to that number one contender spot.
Yeah, no, I agree. You're an undefeated fighter. You've beaten all the guys that have been put in front of you, especially when it comes down to like earning a title shot, and they reward you with, hey, lose-lose situation. You better not fuck it up. And look at us. Now it's fucked up. The bag has been fumbled. That's all I'm saying here. This is the real detail that you need to know here. Evloev has now seen 11 UFC fights canceled, I think out of 20 total opportunities. 9 fights gone his way, 11 fights have been canceled. Further adding to the narrative of you're just like a hard guy for us to keep active. So not only is it tough to get you to the title shot, but let's say you win the title, is it going to be this as a champion, which is not what the UFC wants whatsoever. You can't be pulling out and doing all that stuff when you're a champion. If Evloev does finally get his opportunity and somehow fumbles it, somehow doesn't actually make it to the title, or like doesn't win the title opportunity, is this one of the biggest what ifs that we're going to have seen in the division? Is this going to be one of the biggest, like, yo, this guy could have done it all, he just never got his shot? We don't want that to be the story of Evloev, but it kind of seems like it's trailing that way. What do you think?
It kind of seems like it's trailing that way, Derick, or even worse for Evloev, he might get forgotten in the annals of time. Like with having that many fights that aren't or not keeping you active, as much as we remember the greats, as much as we remember our favorite fighters for years to come, I don't see that many people having Movsar Evloev as their favorite fighter that they're clamoring to see going. And even if he gets a title shot, like I don't see the draw there. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if you're a Movsar Evloev just dedicated fan, let me know in the comments. But as far as I've seen, there's not really much push from the UFC to get him there. He just deserves the shot on his acumen alone.
Yeah. And let's not forget, man, Volkanovski, he can't wait that much longer, you know what I mean, to defend his belt. So it's kind of like whoever's there is who he's going to fight ultimately. So that's a good way to end it. Listen, UFC 318 should be a fun one. Join us next week for the UFC Abu Dhabi card. Robert Whittaker versus Reiner de Ritter. That's going to be some fireworks right there. That's it for us, folks. Until next time.